For today's video, we'll be taking a look at a new mid-tower PC case by Lian Li, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. First unveiled at Computex 2025 in May this year, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity is available in black or white, supports SSI EEB as well as EATX form factor motherboards, and can be considered a refresh of the popular LANCOOL 217 that went on sale earlier this year. Let's see if this case is any good. First things first, the packaging. The case comes in a brown cardboard box with your usual product illustrations and descriptions on all sides. Opening up the box, we see that the case comes with a large rectangular box of accessories that's held in place securely. The case is pretty well packaged within the box too. Let's open up the cardboard box to see what's inside. First up, we get an instruction manual right here. And this is accompanied by a whole bunch of accessories in Ziploc bags, starting first with a blank faceplate should you choose to relocate the pre-installed front panel I/O module of the case. We do also get a PSU shroud bracket, alongside a PSU shroud cover. Now I'll run through the use of some of these accessories later on in this video. Moving on. We also get a transparent plastic box right here that contains bits and bobs such as your screws and whatnot. Within the transparent plastic box, we see that Lian Li's provided a thank you card like so. And within the box, we get a whole bunch of screws, cable ties, anti-vibration rubber rings, as well as spare friction clips for the panels of the case. And here it is, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity unboxed. For this review, Lian Li sent over the black version of the LANCOOL 217 Infinity, and for those of you thinking of building a white-colored PC, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity also comes in a white colorway as well. The case features a mid-tower design with a bottom chamber for your power supply unit and storage drives, and is made of a combination of plastic, tempered glass panels, and steel. The LANCOOL 217 Infinity is effectively a variant of the original LANCOOL 217 that was launched for sale earlier this year, with two key differences that are worth highlighting. Firstly, instead of a front mesh panel with wood trim, the 217 Infinity has a tempered glass infinity mirror front panel with a layered ARGB lighting effect, as well as circular cutouts for two pre-installed 170mm intake fans with infinity mirror hubs. This gives the case a really eye-catching aesthetic. We'll see these effects later on in this video when I've done up a demo build with the case. The second difference, Lian Li's taken in the feedback that end users had regarding the placement of the front I/O ports on the original LANCOOL 217, where they are fixed in place on the side panel. With the 217 Infinity, we now have the option of mounting the front panel I/O module either on the top panel or on the left side panel where it's pre-installed like so. I'll talk about how to relocate the I/O module in the section of this video where I'll cover the demo build experience with this case. Over on the tempered glass side panel of the case, we get a removable steel mesh panel that borders the bottom of the tempered glass side panel. This is for ventilation purposes, seeing as the LANCOOL 217 Infinity gives end users the option of mounting the power supply unit rotated 90 degrees, such that the rear of the PSU faces the right side instead for more flexibility in terms of how you like to cable manage your PSU cables. More on this feature later on in this video. Now, the front I/O module is pre-installed on the side of the case, where we get a 3.5mm headphone and microphone combo jack, dual USB 3.0 Type A ports, as well as a single USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type C port. Again, you do have the option of relocating this module to the top of the case should you so wish. The other side panel is a simple steel panel that comes with ventilation openings right above the bottom chamber. Again, Lian Li's included perforations for the full length of the bottom chamber for airflow purposes, which is great. The top panel of the case comprises a full length of mesh openings for your top-mounted case fans or AIO radiator. We get this blank section right here that you can relocate the front I/O module to. And we also get a power button that comes with an integrated power LED as well as two control buttons, M1 and M2, which can be used to control the ARGB lighting effects of the tempered glass infinity mirror front panel and the pre-installed front intake fans. On the screen is a photo of the manual that details the various combinations of settings that can be tweaked with the M1 and M2 buttons. It's worth mentioning that the speeds of all the pre-installed case fans and their ARGB lighting effects, as well as the ARGB effects of the tempered glass infinity mirror front panel, can be controlled via a standard 4-pin PWM fan header and a 5V ARGB header. If you're embedded into the Lian Li ecosystem with Lian Li hardware that support the L wireless protocol, you can use the Lian Li L Connect 3 app to control the fan speed and ARGB lighting effects wirelessly instead. This is because the 217 Infinity comes with an integrated wireless receiver for the lighting effects of the tempered glass infinity mirror front panel and the pre-installed fans. For this wireless connection to work, you need to utilize a L wireless controller that's sold separately. This said controller, like the one that I have on the screen, tends to come included with Lian Li's 3-pack wireless case fans, for instance. Over on the bottom panel, we get a removable dust filter that covers the fan opening for the power supply unit that you'd install in the bottom chamber. As can be seen, the case comes with 4 rubber pads that serve as feet for the case. In terms of expansion slots, we get 7 expansion slot openings with reusable covers, and the expansion slot bracket is rotatable such that you can change the bracket's orientation to support a graphics card that's mounted in the vertical position. Removing the panels of the LANCOOL 217 Infinity is a pretty straightforward affair, where Lian Li's gone with a toolless design for most of the case panels. The tempered glass side panel, right side steel panel, as well as top panel are all held in place by friction posts and can be pried off easily. The bottom side mesh panel is held in place by a thumb screw and slides out easily, like so. Over on the front panel, the pre-installed front intake fans have circular filters that can be removed for cleaning purposes. All you've got to do is to turn the filter counterclockwise and the filter pops off like so. Now removing the front panel of the case requires a little more effort, where it's held in place by friction posts and can be pried off with some force. Do note though that the front panel does have cables that run to the built-in wireless receiver of the case, so you want to disconnect them before removing the front panel. On a side note, if you're new to the ALK Tech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest releases in the PC hardware world. With that, onto the interior, starting first with cooling features. The LANCOOL 217 Infinity comes with 2 170mm intake fans pre-installed on the front, where they also come with an infinity mirror effect on the fan hub for some visual flair. Do note that 170mm is a proprietary size for case fans. In the event that the fans fail, you probably have to contact Lian Li to get replacement fans, which should be a cinch to replace, seeing as they're each held in place by the typical 4-screw kind of arrangement. Up top, we get openings that support either up to 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. We do also get support for 360mm, 280mm or 240mm AIO radiators. A noteworthy feature is the fact that the top panel comprises a removable bracket that makes it easier for you to install your fans or radiator outside of the case when building your PC. Moving over to the bottom panel, as can be seen, we get openings that support up to 3 120mm case fans. Do note that to install case fans on the bottom panel, you have to first remove these 2 panels that are held in place by Phillips head screws. A feature that Lian Li touts for the LANCOOL 217 Infinity is the fact that the fans on the bottom panel utilize a sliding mount system comprising of rubber grommets that allow for quick adjustments to the positions of the case fans on the bottom panel. That aside, you do also get the option of mounting two 120mm case fans inside the bottom chamber from below, where they can be installed using the same sliding mount system. Finally, over on the rear, Lian Li's included a pre-installed 140mm ARGB exhaust fan that also features an infinity mirror hub. If you'd like, you can replace the said fan with another 140mm case fan or a smaller 120mm case fan as well. In terms of physical dimensions, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity has pretty standard dimensions for a mid-tower ATX PC case, with the measurements that you can see on the screen. For you folks intending to use an air cooler for your processor, do note that the case supports CPU coolers of heights no more than 180mm according to Lian Li. For your graphics card, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity comes with support for cards with lengths of up to 380mm, and Lian Li's also included a built-in GPU support bracket that's attached to the motherboard tray like so, where it's adjustable for height. We get two mounting positions for the L-shaped support, where you can mount the said support on the rightmost opening where needed. The case also supports vertically mounted GPUs, though you will have to get a riser cable that's sold separately, and you'll only be able to vertically mount your GPU if you do not have case fans mounted on the top of the PSU shroud, in which case you'll have to install these two standoffs on the PSU shroud panel before mounting the riser cable accordingly. Now, I didn't screw them in all the way as can be seen. You'll have to use an included standoff installation tool so that you can use a Phillips head screwdriver to fully screw in the standoffs. You can also mount your GPU vertically if you have just two fans mounted from underneath the PSU shroud, in which case you'll have to install this slim PSU shroud cover that comes included in the accessories box and mount the standoffs for the riser cable accordingly. Changing the orientation of the expansion slot openings to suit a vertically mounted GPU is pretty straightforward. All you've got to do is to undo these screws on the rear so as to remove the expansion slot bracket, and thereafter reposition them accordingly in the correct orientation. Moving on to the motherboard tray, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity comes with support for motherboards with rear connectors, so motherboards from say ASUS's BTF lineup, Gigabyte Stealth series, or MSI's Project Zero lineup will be compatible with this case. One feature to highlight is the fact that the case comes with support for standard ATX, eATX, and even SSI EEB form factor motherboards, and in that regard, we get a cable grommet bar that can be repositioned so as to accommodate varying sizes of motherboards. By default, the case comes with the cable grommet bar in the standard ATX position. If you'd like to say, install an eATX motherboard for instance, you can undo the relevant screws to remove the cable grommet bar. Flip it around, reposition the GPU support bracket, and thereafter reinstate the grommet bar in place. Onto all things power supply related, like the original LANCOOL 217. The LANCOOL 217 Infinity also comes with two mounting positions for your power supply unit. You can mount your PSU either in the standard manner with its cables running towards the front of the case, in which case you'll get up to 220mm of length clearance for a PSU, though you have to remove the rightmost drive cage so as to make space. Alternatively, you can rotate your PSU and have the cables run towards the side of the case, in which case you'll then have 180 mm of length clearance instead. By default, the case comes with this blank faceplate positioned for sideways installation of your PSU, and Lian Li's also included a 3-pin power cord with a L-shaped connector accordingly. If you decide to install your PSU in the standard orientation, repositioning the blank faceplate is a simple matter of undoing 4 screws and installing it on the side like so. For those of you intending to install 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives for your PC build with the LANCOOL 217 Infinity, Lian Li's got you covered with support for plenty of drive mounting locations. First up, on the rear of the motherboard tray, we get support for up to two 2.5-inch SSDs. If you have a micro ATX back connector motherboard installed, you can only mount a single 2.5-inch SSD due to obvious clearance restrictions, where you'll need to ditch at least one 2.5-inch SSD mounting bracket so as to create space for cables to run from your back connector micro ATX motherboard. Next up, we get two drive cages located in the bottom chamber of the case right next to your power supply unit, where the cages are each held in place by a single thumb screw on the bottom panel of the case. Each cage comes with support for 2 drives each, so you can install either a 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drive on the top of the cage, and also a 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drive simultaneously on the removable plastic caddy. The 2.5-inch drive can be mounted underneath the said plastic caddy. Finally, we also get space on the PSU shroud to mount up to 3 2.5-inch SSDs. This is only if you do not have any fans mounted on or below the said PSU shroud. The front panel connectors of the case are a pretty standard affair, where you get the usual 9-pin front panel connector, a front panel audio connector like so, a front panel USB 3.0 Type A connector, as well as a front panel USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type C connector. Now, I do appreciate the fact that Lian Li has gone with a 9-pin front panel connector for the power switch and power LED. You can see that of the 9-pin openings, only 4 are populated with leads for the power switch and power LED. This really helps with getting the connector hooked up to the motherboard with ease and saves you the hassle of fiddling about with a 2-pin connector and trying to get it connected to the right pins on your motherboard. Over on this side of the case, we get a 4-pin PWM fan connector, a 5V ARGB connector, as well as a SATA power connector that are all hooked up to the wireless receiver module that comes included with the case, which in turn is used to power the pre-installed case fans and the front panel infinity mirror lighting effects. A feature worth highlighting is the fact that end users can reposition the front panel I/O module so as to suit your desk setup. As can be seen, the review unit comes with the I/O module pre-installed on the side of the PC case. You do have the option of relocating it to the top panel. This blank filler plate is removable and you can relocate the entire I/O module to the top, which is great for you folks who place your PCs on the floor, for instance. To get started with the relocation, you'll first need to remove the front panel of the LANCOOL 217 Infinity so as to create space for you to properly work on removing the I/O module from the side mounting location. With the front panel out of the way, you'll gain access to these 2 screws that hold the I/O module in place. Simply undo them and the module will come free. You'll also have to carefully remove the I/O module cables that are run through the cable routing channel as pictured on the screen. Once the module has been removed, you can then install the blank faceplate that comes included with the box of accessories like so, where it can be held in place by the same 2 screws that you removed earlier. Installing the I/O module at the top is pretty easy. Simply insert the module at an angle into the opening and pop it right in, before securing it in place with 2 screws from the accessories pack of the case. Reinstate the top panel of the case and you're done with the I/O module relocation. With that, let's do a demo build with the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. Getting the motherboard into the case was a pretty straightforward process, where the motherboard standoffs are already pre-installed on the motherboard tray. As I'm using an EATX motherboard, a Gigabyte X670E Aorus Master for this demo build, I had to install the cable grommet bar in the EATX position so as to create more space for the motherboard to be mounted within the case. The case fan installation process was pretty smooth, where I'll be installing 3 normal blade Lian Li Unifan SL Infinity 120mm case fans on the top panel as exhaust fans, where it really helps that we've got a removable bracket up top to make fan installation a breeze. I've also got 3 reverse blade Unifan SL Infinity 120mm case fans on the PSU shroud as bottom intake fans. As mentioned earlier, mounting the fans on the PSU shroud involves the use of rubber grommets that allow you to slide the fans into place for ease of installation. As you'll have noticed, the Unifan SL Infinity fans have a pretty eye-catching infinity mirror effect, which complements the tempered glass infinity mirror front panel of the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. Installing the power supply unit was a cinch too. For the demo build, I've opted to install a Cooler Master MWE Gold 1050 V2 power supply unit in the rotated position. We're seeing as the PSU measures in at 180mm in length and is right on the dot for the maximum length of 180mm supported by the case in the rotated mounting position, it was kind of a tight fit, but I was able to get the cables to where they needed to go without any issues. For the demo build's graphics card, I'll be installing a Gigabyte Aorus GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24G, which measures in at a sizable 358.5mm by 162.8mm by 75.1mm, and it fits perfectly within the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. As can be seen, the included GPU support bracket serves its purpose just fine when the graphics card is properly installed inside of the PC. With the demo build pretty much done, it's a good time to talk about the overall build experience and cable management with the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. In my opinion, the case was easy to build in and everything feels pretty well thought out. Cable management wise, the build looks very clean from the side with the tempered glass panel, all thanks to the rubber grommets on the cable grommet bar, which do help with cable management for sure. Over on the other side, I appreciate the fact that Lian Li has included several strategically placed Velcro straps that sure come in handy in bundling up your stray cables. In the interest of time, I didn't use all of them for this demo build, but they're nice to have on hand for sure. Now I did have my reservations regarding whether or not the cables from my 180mm long Cooler Master power supply unit would get in the way of the side panel, seeing as it just meets the maximum PSU length clearance for side mounting, but I'm pleased to report that everything fits just fine. All in all, the demo build is shaping up pretty nicely in spite of the fact that I did not do much in terms of cable management. And with that, here's a completed demo build with the LANCOOL 217 Infinity. In terms of thermal performance, I did a quick performance benchmark with the LANCOOL 217 Infinity's demo build, where you can see the specs of the said build on the screen. With F123's in-game benchmark, where I ran a 5-lap test for around 9 minutes in total, the Ryzen 7 7800X3D processor in the demo build achieved an average CPU temperature of around 65.6 degrees Celsius, while the GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24GB by Gigabyte achieved an average GPU temperature of 66.8 degrees Celsius, an average hotspot temperature of 76.5 degrees Celsius, as well as an average memory junction temperature of 69.9 degrees Celsius, which in my opinion are a pretty good set of results, considering that these results were achieved in a non-air conditioned room with an ambient temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. Thank you global warming. For the purposes of benchmarking, the fan curves were left on their stock standard settings without any further tweaks. To sum things up, I think that the Lian Li LANCOOL 217 Infinity is a pretty attractive PC case and is going to be a hit. This is all thanks to its eye-catching aesthetics courtesy of its tempered glass infinity mirror front panel and its great thermal performance. Build quality is pretty good too, and we get lots of nice quality of life features for cable management and flexibility in terms of how you can set up the case for your PC build. The only downside that I can think of is the fact that the front pre-installed case fans use a proprietary size of 170mm, which makes them tricky to replace if they were to, for instance, break outside of the case warranty period. In terms of pricing, the LANCOOL 217 Infinity has a MSRP of $124.99 for the black variant and $129.99 for the white variant, which I think are decent prices considering the aesthetics and features of the case. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.